Hey folks, let's talk about your brain. Seriously, so much of marketing is about education and understanding of your customers, and you can't understand your customers if you don't understand how they think. The good part is all humans think alike to some extent. We all tend to repeat certain actions. We all tend to respond certain ways to certain stimulus. So what we need to think about in terms of marketing is, number one, how do we assess how people are thinking, whether they're really going to buy from us? And number two, how we can potentially change that thinking, but that part gets into questionable ethical areas. Anyway, take a look at this segment on commitment and then go read Robert Cialdini's book. We'll be right back. An important side note on the psychology of commitment. Commitment is a brain anchor. Commitment refers to the psychological tendency built into most humans to assume that what you're doing is being done for a reason, and to suddenly reverse that motion would be bad. The implication of this tendency is that you can assess a prospect's likelihood of purchasing based on the number of things they're doing that would align with a purchase. And interestingly, the more they do, the more they're likely to do. Einstein said it best. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Human society works because we are conditioned to behave in consistent, rational ways. We usually stop at red lights, for instance. It's not randomized, where some people stop sometimes. Society couldn't function if that was the case. But such behavior is also reinforcing. So if a purchaser isn't actually going to buy, they may say they liked your offering in the interests of politeness, another social necessity, but if they're not acting in the same way, calling you about pricing, delivery dates and logistics, arranging payment details, telling their friends about the impending purchase, or even introducing you to them, if they're not behaving the same way, odds are that they are not going to purchase. That said, there is an interesting side effect used by unscrupulous marketers. If a prospect is tricked into taking actions consistent with purchasing, for example, putting down a 100% refundable payment or signing a statement of intent to buy with no legal repercussions if they don't, or even just convinced to tell friends that they're about to buy, think about the like statement on Facebook. If a prospect can be convinced to do that, the prospect is more likely to end up buying. Use this tendency wisely. With great power comes great responsibility. Hey, we're back. So if you found that interesting, you should definitely go read Influence by Robert Cialdini. That's Cialdini. I put a link to it in the course. But again, the point is you should look for commitment when you're trying to do lead assessment. In other words, you've been marketing to people, you need to figure out which ones of those folks are really interested in your product and which ones aren't. Look for degrees of commitment.